You are listening to part 2 of the Biohacking Brothers podcast featuring Andrés Preschel, applied physiologist and health coach.
Yeah, but by the way, quitting Adderall was the most difficult thing I've ever done.
You stop taking it, your brain feels like mush.
It was the worst thing that ever happened, but the best thing that ever happened in the sense that I gained so much wisdom and strength from that experience, and now I can put myself in the shoes of the people that I want to help. Most people aren't gathering objective data about their body on a regular basis with medical grade tools and devices and technology, so they don't know any better.
Empowering people to understand their biology at a deeper level. And
most people have such high levels of baseline stress, of chronic stress, that when they do the training required to elicit increases in VO2 max, they get exhausted, they get burnt out.
I'll tell you this, for all you guys that think that this is hocus pocus stuff, this stuff works.
I've never mentioned this on a podcast before, and you're really bringing up a lot of emotion right now. But bro, I remember I went to UM. I'm not gonna cry on you, don't worry.
I'll cry.
No, please do, please.
I'm definitely not gonna cry. If you're not getting deep sleep, which is 99% of people, you're just gonna feel brain fog and like low energy and low mood all the time.
And the brain cells actually shrink about 40 to 60%, so all that fluid can go and clean out the debris that we build up, the cytotoxicity.
So like, it's interesting because, you know, I work with the population, like my clients, it's a variety of people, but what they all have in common is they are go to an extreme. So you don't only have to tell them, because everybody wants to live longer, right? But it's like, can we get super precise through data to help you recover better, increase HRV, and basically make you more adaptable so that you can recover when you intend to, extremely efficiently. And then when you want high performance, you can tap into that, and you're not going to get slowed down. So I've had to learn to do this in extreme, and I really
and that is what interoception basically means.
You know what's interesting, and I want to know if you agree, how much of your strategy, especially working with professional athletes, because I do this all the time, is teaching them how to dial it back, because it's so easy, and it happens to us, right? We're competitive athlete level, and it's so easy to overtrain, right? Because training for us is almost a form of therapy, right? And for a lot of people, and so when you're go and you want to stack things and you want to do more, it's like, no, dude, listen, you get more with less. Like dial it back, and that's the hardest thing to deal with athletes.
All the other things dialed in to really do that efficiently.
But no, I mean, talk to an athlete about sleep. It's like, fuck sleep. I sleep when I'm dead. I want to go. And it's teaching them how to dial that back.
It's like changing that mindset is like, people pay me a lot of money just to do that.
It's
you know
tough.
what I mean?
It's tough.
It's very tough.
I work with
your ego gets in the way. They think that they know better because they've made it. They've become that successful, and they got into that point in their career because they've sacrificed everything else for that. And what I show them is like, you can still maintain or even improve that level without sacrifice, but by leveraging your health. And now you get more time and quality of life when you're with your family. When you're traveling, when you have just your you time.
You don't work out and then you feel, there's a lot of people that work out and when they're done, they feel exhausted throughout the day. And you should actually feel energized when you come back from working out.
There's a main difference, there's a big difference between the endorphin response that is basically your body's effort to like regulate itself after stress and like actually feeling good at a baseline because you exercise often. Like I always say, like people love the cold plunge, right? Especially my high performers. Oh my God, you see the cold, should I spend 10 grand on this cold plunge? Dude, you're stressed the fuck out.
Do not do cold plunge.
Like you're gonna feel good in the moment in the short term because of the endorphin response as your body like
dopamine hit.
But you're putting your body in a catabolic state and you're increasing your baseline levels of stress.
Well, actually, it's funny you say that. Kristen Holmes, which
I had her on the show. I was gonna mention her in a second.
Principal scientist showed that people that are as healthy and as fit as us, cold plunging more than 3 times a week has diminishing return, and that you shouldn't be cold plunging on the days that you're already causing massive hormetic stress. 100%. Like if I'm lifting and I've already broken down my body and I didn't sleep good and I'm freaking type A again running, cold plunging is like your cells are saying, what the hell are you doing to me? It's overdoing it, right? And so you just have to know strategically, intelligently when to cold plunge. And it's usually on the days that you're doing cardio. So
obviously there's so much to unpack here. What I want to tell the listeners is like, there's so many ways that you can approach this, so many ways that you can like
But your sleep is the
That's
best.
Exactly what I was
It's
saying.
the greatest consolidated
baseline,
for everything. It's your first to go medicine.
I'm so glad we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Master the art of sleeping.
Yeah,
and then you can add these things in and you don't have to worry as much about what could or might happen. And now you can take advantage of that hormetic stress that you're deliberately adding into your life, like caloric restriction, fasting, heat, cold exposure, HIIT training. Now, all of that allows your body to generate an adaptive, a positive response to grow and develop.
We talk about, supplementing and taking boosters for muscles and for energy. The ultimate supplement booster for absolutely every biological, biomechanical process for your body to bring the best you can is sleep.
Yes.
If you think about it.
So with those guys, you know what I call it? Be like, oh yeah, you're big into. How about sleep fitness?
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about that?
Yeah, that's what we call it, sleep
we kind of
fitness.
changed the term there so they can be like, oh, there is such a thing. And that kind of we kind of coach them into like, this area is the most important area.
Yeah.
Just like breaking your fast is more important than the fast itself. And, sleeping is more important than the actual exercise because if you don't have it, then there's no consolidation, there's no growth.
Yeah.
So great. So VO2 max.
Real quick. Real quick on the VO2 max thing. So with VO2 max, like I said, I have a whole article on my website on how to approach HIIT training in an extremely efficient way, like how to get to the right heart rate zones that elicit increases in stroke volume and left ventricular hypertrophy, how to recover between those sets because you need to replenish creatine phosphate so that the subsequent sets are at the same or even higher intensity. Otherwise, most people get HIIT training wrong because they don't rest long enough. It's like a counterintuitive, no, I just need to go harder. Well, guess what? Now you're not getting up to that. Maybe the first interval you get your heart rate up, but then you're half-assing it. Now you're not getting high enough because you didn't recover long enough and you haven't replenished creatine to generate ATP quickly and get your heart rate up.
That's I train a lot my VO2 max and I climb up from zone 2 to zone 5 strategically in intervals. And I wanted to bring up because you talk about longevity for VO2 max. Are you familiar with the health hazard ratio of what a poor VO2 max is like? So the health hazard ratio risk measures your likelihood of adverse outcomes in life, like cardiovascular disease and all causes of mortality. Vascular disease, smoking, and diabetes have a 2 to 4 times more likely to have an adverse outcome, which is basically 100 to 400%. Right? Just smoking, vascular disease, and diabetes. A poor VO2 max has a 300%. You're 4 times more likely to have an adverse outcome in your life with a poor VO2 max. Look it up.
Wow, I didn't know
Health
that. That's
hazard ratio risk.
Yeah,
Jesus
awesome.
Christ. I mean, look, because it's just simply how's your body sending out blood and oxygen, and that's your life force. If you have poor management of your literal life force, you're going to die sooner. And you're going to suffer along the way. So anyway, HIIT training, all that, I would do it on days that you have high recovery. I had Kristen Holmes on the podcast. She took me through a study of elite populations of athletes. And she showed me, if you compare an athletic population that's training 6 times a week, just whatever, following a standard program versus 3 times a week, according to the recovery scores, that population that's training half as much, spending half as much time, performs better, lower risk of injury, and just feels better overall. Easy. You just saved a ton of time and effort in your approach to get healthier and live longer. And you do that based on HRV, which is the next metric that I wanted to cover, right? So there's a great analogy that I can share for HRV to help people make sense of it. Imagine if you have...
Yeah, because I know you're obsessed on this subject.
I'm so obsessed that in my old car, my tag, my license plate was HRV. I swear.
Well, listen, by the time we finish this podcast, you better get my HRV from 40 to 80 or above because I roam at 40.
I'll tell you what, there's so many variables, even genetic things that.
But hold on, I want you because we're gonna go into that. But I want you to explain in simple terms for the average viewer what HRV means, why it's important, and how you can take some steps to really kind of
absolutely
change it in a positive way.
Absolutely, I'm so glad you asked. So what HRV literally means is the small degree of variability between your heartbeats. Okay, so
the time in between those heartbeats.
Yeah. So for example, a normal resting heart rate, and I know ours is much lower, right? It's 60 beats per minute. That assumes an average of 1 beat per second. But there's a small degree of variation. There could be a heart rate interval within those 60 seconds where it's 1.1 seconds, then it could be 0.9, 0.95, 1.05, right? And it averages out. And that small degree of variance is related to the way that you breathe. Because every time you inhale...
Yeah, we don't breathe correctly.
Every time you inhale, you actually see a decrease in your heart rate variability and a slight increase in heart rate. Every time you exhale, you have more parasympathetic activity. So if you look at the branches of the autonomic nervous system, most people tuning in probably know, sympathetic is fight or flight response, a little bit more stress. Parasympathetic is rest, digest, and heal. It's like slowing you down.
There's no danger, restore.
And your breath is the way that you breathe right now, even it doesn't have to be high performance. At a baseline, the way that you breathe, that's the most accessible way to influence the state of your nervous system immediately.
If you look at any breath work, they're always longer on the exhales because it calms
because you double the parasympathetic activity. You increase HRV. So anyway, that small degree of variance is related to breathing, how you breathe. So that's what heart rate variability literally means. Okay, now that we understand this, let me take you through an analogy.
To take it a little further with HRV, it's the variation of time between heartbeats measured in milliseconds.
Yeah.
But it's also your 2-week trend compared to your 3-month average. So it gives you an average. Well, at least on the Oura ring.
If you wear a device.
If you wear the HRV of the Oura ring, just gives you your 2-week trend over your 3-month average. So when you're low, it's telling you, average. This is not today. This is an accumulative effect that you need to slow the hell down.
I'm so glad you brought that up because it really just, if you want to make decisions based on HRV and other biometrics, it comes down to like what your trends look like, right? And this is an extremely subjective experience, like an N of 1 clinical trial on yourself, so you can make educated decisions on your physiology and your lifestyle and the kind of stress you're going to add in deliberately, which we know as health habits, but they can be overdone and underdone. So a really good analogy to help people understand HRV that I often share is like, imagine if you have a yogi in a meditative state. It's like hands at the heart center,
calm
lotus
and
pose,
resonance,
eyes closed, like deep, like alpha, theta state of meditation, right? All of a sudden, a lion appears. And the yogi has to like snap out of it and run away. So yogi is like sprinting away. All of a sudden, these zookeepers come and they get the lion and they put it in a cage. And now the yogi's asked to return to this deep meditative state. So a yogi with high HRV, with high measure of adaptability, that can self-regulate effectively. As soon as that stressor is gone, they can effectively return to baseline. And also when the stress happens, they can effectively run away. You know, so imagine
the nervous system is already programmed to that.
Yeah, the nervous system knows how to deal with stress and how to recover
that is their
from
natural state of being. Right?
Yeah, it's an adaptable state.
So for somebody who's always stressed, calming the central nervous system to improve HRV is harder. It takes more effort.
So imagine
more mindfulness.
Imagine this. I think anyone can appreciate this. Imagine if you're in traffic and someone like cuts you off and like you're all pissed off and you're throwing a fit. Like how often do we bring that energy home? You know?
Yeah.
Your ability to let that go and just move on with your life literally reflects your HRV and your adaptability.
You know what's really funny about what you just said? There was a book. I read one page because I just didn't have time to get back to it, but it was a book about trauma. And the book starts by saying, you know, there's a what's it called? An impala in the Serengeti. You know, a lion comes, it traps it, it gets it, but then another lion comes and fights them off, and the lions start fighting, and all of a sudden the impala runs away, and then, you know, the lions get distracted and they go away. All of a sudden the impala is not traumatized. It just goes right back to what it's doing, like if nothing happened. The thing with human beings is that we do exactly what you just said. It's very hard for us to let go of that stress and come back to that baseline.
Being present and not being in the future and the past. And we can perpetuate chronic low-grade inflammation, stress in our body for months at a time, and that's what will take you to disease.
Exactly.
When you live in fight or flight, I've personally could say I've lived for a lot of years in fight or flight. Now, for the first time in a couple months, it's like I'm really calming down. I'm working on increasing my HRV and calming my central nervous system, so I become familiar with that state constantly, and that is my baseline. Right?
That's a really good analogy about the yogi, though.
Yeah, it's not original. I think I heard about it on a Tim Ferriss
No, but I'm
podcast.
saying it's a really good analogy to understand it.
Yeah, you can see and feel the difference.
And just on a note, because you can maybe touch on this, and we can move on to the next biological marker. I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that's for example, for me, HRV at 40 might be healthy. Like for some people, it might be 80. I know there's a bracket depending on the age. You should be higher, especially if you're healthy. But some people are just good at 50, and they can have the same, health than a person that's at 80. Right?
Don't focus on the number. Focus on the trend, because it is by far the most subjective biometric.
The most
extremely subjective. That's what I always. Oh my God! But dude, my brother has such a high HRV.
Yeah.
Focus on your HRV. Do what's within your control. Do what you can do. And by the way, going to the breathwork, which is the most accessible way to influence the state of your nervous system, I always recommend, especially for my high performers, there's 3 opportunities you have each day to apply a small degree of breathwork that has an immediate impact on your HRV and the way you feel and your presence and peak performance. It is anytime that you're either dealing with or anticipating stress. Like right now, for example, we're in this conversation. Imagine how many people have to have difficult conversations at work or with their family or with their wives or their kids. And they just want to be more prepared to have that conversation, more present.
Yeah.
This is a secret weapon. No one knows you're doing this, that you can change your breathing. Nobody notices it, but you objectively are more prepared to handle, to have more oxygen going to the brain, to have higher HRV, to be more present. The way you do it is a modified 4-7-8 breath.
Let's do it right now.
4 seconds.
Let's do it right now.
I'll lead you guys through it.
Let's do it right now.
Let's go.
Right,
the other podcast we were oming, so don't worry about it.
I love it. So if you're listening to this episode, do this with us.
Let's go. Put everything down.
Put everything down. If you're driving, please do not.
If you're driving, stop the car, pull over, or record this and get home and do it.
Please.
If you're just watching Instagram through your feet, stop and listen.
Yes.
And if you really got balls and you're in the gym, stop and do it.
Yeah. And you can do it between sets to shorten that time frame between like a hit interval.
All right,
recover more quickly, replenish more creatine phosphate.
Let's do this.
So look, from what I know and understand, this is like the single most efficient way to regulate your nervous system through applied breath work, okay? So it's very simple. We're going to start doing a 4-second inhale, slow and subtle. You're going to hold for 7 seconds, and you're going to exhale for 8 seconds. You can exhale through your nose or through your mouth, but all the inhales through the nose. Keep practicing that 4-7-8 as I take you through the other physiological cues for more parasympathetic activity. But right off the bat, I want you guys to notice something. Keep doing the 4-7-8. Both of you guys made a huge mistake. You're using your upper chest and shoulders to breathe. So you're breathing vertically. I want you to relax the upper chest and shoulders and breathe horizontally. Use your belly. Feel your belly expanding and contracting, because automatically what it's going to do is 2 things. Number 1, you're going to use more of the vagus nerve, which is tucked up right beneath your stomach, near the diaphragm. And when you engage that vagus nerve, you get more parasympathetic activity. On top of that, as you draw air to the lower lung, in the lower lung, you have greater surface area and a higher concentration of alveoli where oxygen exchange occurs. So every breath you take is suddenly more efficient. So in order to get the same amount of oxygen and VO2, you can afford a lower, breathing rate equals more parasympathetic activity. So anyway, we're breathing horizontally, 4 seconds in, 7-second hold, 8 seconds out. Another thing I want you guys to notice is when you breathe with your nose, are you breathing up the nostril or are you breathing into your face? That makes a difference too, because it's a further way to guarantee that you're breathing horizontally, not vertically. So try to breathe into the back of your head and feel your breath accumulating in your throat, almost like you're going to fog up a glass. In yoga, it's called an ujjayi, or lion's breath. Feel that breath in the back of your throat. And you want this to be so subtle that if you had a candle in front of your face, you wouldn't blow it out. So it's a very relaxed, very slow breath. Interestingly, in that 7-second hold, something called accumulation of CO2 happens. So in that little bit of a breath hold, and I know it might seem counterintuitive for the listeners or even for you guys, like I feel like I have this urge to breathe and like I kind of want to breathe more quickly. Most people don't know how to hold their breath. Yeah, because you're accumulating CO2, but that has an important physiological effect, believe it or not. That increase in CO2 has a cardio-inhibitory effect. It actually slows down the heart rate. And over time, as we teach our body to accumulate more CO2 and we build up our CO2 tolerance, our baseline levels of stress go down and we increase things like lactate threshold and VO2 max. So just like when you go to the gym and you stress out your muscle mass and you feel that pain in your muscle, but you know it's going to give you that adaptive response, when you hold your breath and do these longer exhales and you get that urge to breathe, you're training the physiology that gives you a positive adaptive response to increase your threshold for stress. So 4-7-8 into your face with your nose, using the diaphragm, horizontal breathing, very, very subtle. And I like to do this anytime I'm dealing with or anticipating stress. I like to do this before I have anything to eat, because objectively, we eat better in a parasympathetic state. You get more blood flow to the digestive tract, better motility in the gut, and you create a more present moment where you can better judge how much food you should eat, and you reduce emotional decision-making around food. You're more logical.
That worked.
Yeah, you're more present, right? You feel good?
That worked.
Yeah, you have.
And you know what? I had never done the like breathing
face.
Back. Like it made a big difference.
Yeah, I'm glad.
I feel high is what I feel.
Look at this guy's face.
Have you ever wondered what your biological age is?
At MHI, we've learned the power of personalized insights to guide your wellness in the right direction. That's why we're excited to introduce to you True Diagnostic. True Diagnostic offers advanced epigenetic testing to provide you with a comprehensive understanding of your biological age, aka your real age, your fitness, immune health, and risk of disease associated with aging. By analyzing your DNA methylation patterns, True Diagnostics delivers actionable insights to help you make informed health decisions that impact your overall health and longevity.
Make sure to go to the MHI Recommend section on our website to learn more about True Diagnostic testing and get your exclusive discount code. Or simply give us a call so we can point you in the right direction. For now, stay healthy.
God bless. It's funny, this actually reminds me of, you know who Jim Poole is?
No.
The guy that did the Newcom disc.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Newcom disc works with the 6 acupressure point of the meridian system.
Yeah.
And it's on your left. It's actually on both. I don't know why he says it's only on the left. I look it up. Anyways, it's a disc that it was used with the technology of Tesla and some other scientists like him that basically recalibrates your nervous system so you can go from beta brainwaves, which is what we're on. We're probably low beta brainwave right now, down into theta brainwave.
Yeah,
like within 5 to 10 minutes, what
and
can take
trains your nervous system too.
And so this
amazing.
reminds me, and I was talking to Carlos about this.
Well,
when
I got this shit. I love this thing.
Yeah, for the vagus nerve. I was actually wearing our podcast. So you see, you can do anything here, bro. This is a Beyond Biohacking podcast. My point is, after working out, I teach our clients a lot. You want to bring your body from that fight or flight back to that grazing moment. And one of the best ways is I put on the Newcom, which naturally magnetically biohacks your system to go into that theta brainwave with breath patterns. But I have the 4, 7, hold, 8 second exhale. I'm going to start applying it. Yeah. My point is, if you want better recovery, better HRV, you just freaking cause massive hormetic stress. Yeah. You're in that fight or flight, where I tell people, if you grab a pen and you're shaking, that's your central nervous system very stressed out. You want to calm it down.
That's a really good litmus test.
So you can actually get restorative much faster, right? Because you're not going to restore in that freaking fight or flight effect. And Carlos and I train middle of the day. Yeah. Like that's just like our people go to lunch, we go to the gym, and then I literally
my average. I looked at my yearly report on the Aura. My average time to work out was 2:00.
2:00.
Nice. 2 p.m.
Yeah, mine is 1:30.
Yeah, 2 p.m.
So the point,
the natural dip in cortisol, and you just
and I just feel you know who taught me that was Minkoff. Really? Minkoff was like, hey, the best time to work out is it's not in the morning. It's when you're already warm
core
up.
Body temp.
Yeah, when you're already warm and you're going and you're awake and all this stuff. And for me, it naturally fell at that time because, I guess that's when everybody goes to lunch. And it's like the day calms down. I'm like, oh, great, I can escape for 30 minutes.
Yep.
Well, I mean, that's really relying on the circadian rhythm of the muscle skeletal gene clocks that we have. I don't know if you know those, but we have actually skeletal muscle gene clocks that regulate when is the best time to work out, metabolically speaking, because we're most vascular, we're most warmed up. Yep. Our hormones are peaking, and it's debatable. There's different thoughts, school thoughts on it, but different studies between 1 and 7 p.m.
Yeah, it depends on the population, because some people just need to get out there and they need to find something they can adhere to, but some people want to have this level of precision to maximize their workout.
Yeah.
All right,
but wait, my last point on that. The reason why I like also restoring it could be just breathing, how you did without this Newcom thing, more than anything, because it's 1 p.m. We finish training, and then we have back-to-back meetings. Right. And a lot of times I'm on these on these meetings, and when I'm done, I'm like, oh man, I could have said that, and all these things that I forget is because when you're in that fight or flight, you're not in a resilient, creative, thoughtful, and present moment, right? So when you calm that central nervous system down, I get back on that meeting, and I'm as creative as it gets, right?
Yeah. And I'll tell you before you say that, I'll tell you this: for all of you guys that think that this is hocus pocus stuff, this stuff works.
No,
this stuff works.
There's data.
Let me see you without a shirt. Let me see you without a shirt. I'll take out my shirt and I'll show you what I look like. Let me see if you look like what you look like.
This works. This works.
But look, it's well established in psychology that peak performance happens at a moderate level of stress, and through this kind of interoception, applied breath work, knowing your physiology, all this good stuff, you can quite literally turn that stress out in your favor.
Yeah.
On the spot.
Yeah, you're in control now. You're in control.
That's what I'm saying.
Dial.
It's going back to that trauma thing that I told you about. Like, you can go back, boom, something stressful happened, something traumatic happened, you got in a fight, you got in an argument, boom, you can reshift that without having to carry all that load and all the garbage that comes with it. Yeah. So you said, I'm sorry,
VO2, HRV.
No, so it's VO2 max, HRV.
We killed those.
The last thing I want to say on HRV, the best opportunity is dealing with stress, anticipating stress before you eat and in bed to sleep. Yeah. Do a few rounds. That's the best. And then
before I eat and
in bed as you're getting ready to go to sleep.
You know what? That's really interesting about the eating, because sometimes I find myself where I have, I fast a lot and stuff like that. And I can fast for days, but sometimes when like my hunger kicks in, or I'll just start eating, I'll get into this momentum where I'll get out of control. So it's like, you know what? I'm gonna start incorporating it before I eat.
Do that.
Because I do it in sleep.
I saw that. There's an article that I saw that says take 5 deep breaths before you actually have lunch or any meal.
Yeah.
To just calm yourself down.
This is a step beyond the 5 breaths. This is like
So again, 7 in.
How long do you do it for?
4 in. 7 hold, 8 exhale. How many rounds should I do that?
That's a great question. So the lower your baseline levels are of stress, and the better you get at this, the less you need to do. So some people might need to do 20 rounds. Yeah.
You'll know.
I do this one time. Well, I take it, I'm a free diver. I take it to the extreme. When I'm in bed, I do like a 4 seconds in, I do like a 1 minute hold and like a 1 minute exhale. Something ridiculous.
We'll talk off record about this.
I love that actually, because I felt like I could go. I could excel.
Can do that. That took me years to do.
I could excel for a long time. Okay, so VO2 max,
HRV, fat mass index. That's just like basically maximize how much lean muscle you have on your figure. It's the organ of longevity. It has the highest resting metabolic rate of any tissue in the body. So we know that if you make the effort to gain muscle as you age, you're going to have more calories that you burn at rest. So all of a sudden, like, you can stay lean. People lose muscle as they age naturally. So eating the same food that you ate when you were 20, the same exact meals, all of a sudden you eat that when you're 40, and you're going to gain fat. And then it's also like, basically it's like an endocrine.
So what do you recommend for people, because for you to know what your body mass index is or how much muscle content you hold versus
do a DEXA scan.
A DEXA scan.
But it is obviously,
and the body
you get
health
exposed to radiation, so I recommend a DEXA once or twice a year in between in-body works well.
Okay, that's what I mean.
So this might be kind of like a redundant question, but I think that we've gone to a point in our industry where like we're pouncing on mitochondrial health, right? And it's a super important subject. I mean, we just had Sandra Kaufman here on the show earlier, and she was very honest, like, hey, we don't exactly know some of these things, So, but one of the biggest challenges in biohacking is knowing how to tailor a strategy to your individual biology, right? And so
to your lifestyle.
Yeah, into your lifestyle. And I'm a big believer that a big part of the problem is that we have too many damn options, especially when it comes to food, right? 100%. So, with so many different tools and so many different protocols out there, what advice you have for someone who's just starting out in biohacking and feels overwhelmed by all these options?
I think at a baseline, and even the more advanced biohackers, every single person should try to add back in what the modern world leaves out. So we should do what we have been designed to do over millennia.
Ancestral living.
People will often say like, oh yeah, let's look back at human evolution. Dude, evolution didn't start with human evolution.
Right.
Evolution started when we were a speck of algae in the ocean.
Right.
What's like the one thing that's been around every single day since that time, and even before that time? The sun.
The sun.
If you get the timing of light right, you're gonna set the foundation for circadian rhythm to support you in ways that you would never imagine.
Dude, I'm a big believer in that. Like your sleep starts the moment you wake up and you look into the sun.
Exactly. That's the number one
thing.
Well,
it resets the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is what Sandra Kaufman touches, and it cascades to all the other clock genes.
Yeah, when the blue light interacts with the retina, activates the SCN.
I tell people all the time, like, you want to start the best biohacking in the world that is
looking into the sun.
Dr. John Lawrence's.
Yeah.
You want to do the best biohacking in the world that's easy, cheap, and free, and you can do it every day, every morning. Step out the moment you wake up, put your feet on. I don't care if it's grass, rock, or dirt. Look into the sun.
No, but it has to be grass or some sand, water. It can't be cement or like
some form of soil.
And if you wake up before the sun, get a sun lamp, full spectrum sun lamp. A lot of my clients wake up early, they get that.
Now you're too hardcore. I'm not doing that.
I'm
going to wait to the sun. I wake up at 6 in the morning.
Hey,
and I sit on my Juven, and then when the sun comes out, I go.
Look, you can just turn on the lights.
Look into the sun and just be there for 5 minutes present. You know what? This breath work is amazing for those 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, I think that the biggest takeaway is that breath work that nobody really pays attention to, but there is so much scientific data that is so credible.
Yeah.
And in fact, I'm going to take you up on it. I'm going to tell you what my HRV is. I'm going to tell you in 2 months, and I'm going to start doing it breakfast, whenever I eat, and before I sleep.
That's turned out to be the highest ROI strategy of anything I've ever recommended, and I
Thank you
did
for
not
that.
expect that to be the case.
Return of investment.
Breath work.
Well, I'll tell you
work.
this. Look, I don't want to get all juju, but there's a reason why in the Bible it says God created man by giving him the breath of life.
I'm
and he blew into his nostrils. So there is power in the breath for sure, man. So
anyway, what can everyone do, and what should everybody do? The light management in the evening when the sun goes down. We obviously should experience sunset. We don't. We turn on the lights. Mimicking sunset, using lights that are, typically more red, amber colored, low. Blue light influence, being mindful of your phone.
These things,
and then you got to look like this.
This changed my life. The blue blockers changed my life. And you know what the funny thing is? It's a one-time investment. You buy it one time. You're not going to spend, refills on melatonin and all this bullshit. Just wear these damn glasses. They will change you.
I'm going to tell you guys something. There's something that I know about these glasses that I don't think anybody else knows, or maybe no one else has really talked about. And I'm going to tell you that once people catch on to this, everybody's going to start talking about it.
Okay, come on.
And just the psychology of this.
Okay.
I'll be surprised.
The glasses, your amber colored blue blocking glasses will become a conditioned stimulus. What does that mean? You know the experiment with, I think it was Skinner or Pavlov? The conditioning.
With the dogs.
With the dogs. So the dogs are in cages. They ring a bell before the dogs get fed.
Right.
As the dogs smell the food, they start to salivate. Eventually, over time, as they replicate the study, just ringing the bell causes the dogs to salivate. The bell becomes a conditioned stimulus. As you make the habit of wearing these glasses before bed,
you get sleepier.
You get sleepier because you associate putting them on
with sleeping.
With sleep. And it gets better over time.
100%.
I tell my clients, I'm like, now I put these on, and within 5 minutes, my head's bobbing up and down.
100%.
Because I've committed to that.
100%.
You know
and if you want to go a step further, where you wear the orange lens, and then you put on the red lens about an hour to 2 hours before bed.
I don't need to do that. I'm fine with the
because
glasses.
You're more calm.
My dad, when I first started getting into blue light blocking glasses through Raw Optics, my dad, who's an ophthalmologist and eye surgeon, he sent me a systematic review about how blue blocking glasses don't work. And I was like, let me break this down. Here's the thing.
That's a father
here's the thing.
Father and son moment.
Here's the thing. He wasn't specific in the literature because it was looking at regular blue blocking frames that don't work.
Right.
If you look up amber colored blue blocking glasses, there's another systematic review of over 16 randomized controlled trials with over 500 participants that supports amber colored blue blocking glasses for sleep outcomes.
Amber is what color?
That color, like orange.
No, the evening glasses.
Yeah.
Amazing, man.
So we're mimicking sunset. So that fresh air, engaging your panoramic field of vision every once in a while throughout the day, eating whole foods, eating the rainbow, high spectrum of nutrient density, moving your body, socializing. Right? Like basically, man, like what we've been designed to do as human beings that we don't get enough of today.
We're huge on ancestral
And
living.
if you can do some cold plunging, infrared saunas, and add some advanced modalities.
But pay attention to your HRV.
You have to first start with the basics, the lowest hanging fruit, the
biohacking
nutrients.
is just here to replicate what we get in nature, and maybe in a more efficient way or in a way that's more convenient for you if you live in a city and you can't enjoy what nature has to offer. That's as plain and simply that's what it does.
Well, Andres, I gotta say, man, look, for such a young man like yourself to listen, because this is the first time that I actually heard your personal story, and to have gone through what you've gone through and prepare yourself the way that you have and educated you the way that you have and how polished you are, I got nothing but pride and respect for you, man. You've been an extremely.
Didn't I send you that? I sent you that before. I was first.
He said like the same thing.
Good, man. Yeah, no, and listen, and you're cut from the same cloth, man. So I take extra pride in that, and you've been.
In fact, what are we about to go eat?
Yeah, ayacas.
I like the little video you made. That video is cool. I want you to show it to my CTO. CTO, Chief Marketing Officer. Like, hey, we need to make some more of those flavorful videos.
So you've been an extremely dynamic guest. So thank you so much for coming down, man. I think that you have an amazing gift to offer to the world, and I can't wait for you to see how you grow and continue to collaborate. And just tell our viewers like where they can find you. I mean, you can solicit Andres' services, whether you're a high performer or you're dealing with stress or you want to help your physiology.
And ambitious. Can be anybody.
So maybe also close out with the emerging technologies that maybe you're excited about. Where do you see 5 to 10 years? from here, and then you can close out with all your credentials and where people can find you.
Where people can find you.
And how your services work real quick.
I mean, I think the natural, like the obvious answer is like the integration of AI with wearable device data. But here's the thing, bro. For people like us, it's more important now than ever to realize what only human beings can do to help people change the quality of their health. Right? It's like the human connection, the empathy, taking accountability as a leader for someone's well-being. 100%. AI can't do that. You can never replicate that with AI. I think it's more important now than ever before for us to have like social wellness, to bring together
100%.
like-minded communities, to be in person like this, doing a podcast.
Hanging out.
That's why
like,
we love the in-person.
And so like I see where it's going. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm excited about it. Like I think it's cool, but I think this is the coolest thing ever right here. So let's do more of this.
Where could people find you, and how does your service work? So,
now your service, where can they find you and ask you questions?
If you can find me, you'll understand how my services work. I'll put it like that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Where do they go? What's your Instagram?
Yeah, because you have a couple sites. So where do they go? Where do you?
You can go to either my personal website, Andrés Preschel, AndresPreschel.com, or knowyourphysio.org, KNOWYOURPHYSIO.org. My Instagram is my name, Andrés Preschel. And everywhere else, you can find me at Andrés Preschel.
Yeah, man. And so for
remember, interoception.
Interoception.
Yes, and the breath work.
And the last thing I want to say is, like, obviously, I help people understand what they need to do, how to prioritize it, all that. But a massive value add is like building a relationship with someone to actually understand what they want to accomplish and why, and then holding them accountable.
Yeah, that's about the decisions. Accountable. It looks like you hold them accountable.
The behavior change to see that through, and that's where my entire blend of specific knowledge, personal experience, and working with the best athletes in the world. I mean, world champion athletes and U.S. Open tennis, Le Mans racing champions, World Series of Poker champions, Fortune 500 CEOs, but also like very ambitious students and young professionals. That's where I get to help them in a deeply meaningful way. It's not just the knowledge and the precision, but the accountability and the relationship that we build in the process.
Amazing, man.
Well, for all of you listening, we hope you gained a tremendous amount of insight as we have from Andrés. He is our homie and a proved biohacker, fellow warrior of the light. So if you want to, no, not yet. If you want to learn more from him, go to his website or just simply call us and we'll point you in the right direction. Until then, we hope you stay healthy.
And God bless.